listening to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. This is episode 129, where we talk about the transition from summer carrying to winter carry. We cover whether or not you should change your firearm, your holster, your ammo, what sort of training you should be doing for the change of season, and a whole lot more. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoy episode 129 of Range Minded, the move from summer carry to winter carry. Hello and welcome to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. My name is Mark Long and I am joined by...
Steve Zimmerman making jokes on the B-roll.
Cracking jokes before we start, and we are also joined by...
Nick Hoffer, yet again.
So I think...
Always.
I think we've had... we forgot to mention...
We're terrible
in one way or another, but our dear friend Nick Hoffer has become a permanent member of the podcast.
Oh wait, I'm a permanent member.
He graciously agreed to it, whether he doesn't realize it or not, or does. Man, that was a terribly structured sentence.
I just thought that you guys were inviting me every single week.
We are. Which means you're a permanent member of the podcast.
Oh, awesome! Now I can tell people that I'm a part of the podcast.
Yes, officially. Yes. So we've had you on the last 5 of 6 episodes, I think. So, and we never just mentioned that you are part of the podcast. So, I suppose we have to apologize, but also surprise.
Well, there we go.
Surprise.
So
and I was happy to sit out last week so that Steve's wife could sit in for me. I listened to that.
You should have that. It would have been great to have you there just to I don't know. It was funny because she.
Oh, I think you had plenty of stabs when you were done.
Yeah.
She didn't think she was gonna even talk. She's like, I'm not saying a word.
She did great.
A very interesting podcast.
Yeah, I would have just kept throwing out questions too.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to the podcast from last week, make sure you check it out. Steve's wife was a very special guest on it, and she did really well. I was actually very impressed with how well she was able to take our questions and how honest she was, and she was one of our best guests.
And you didn't even ask her any hardball questions either.
I didn't have any. I was trying to be nice.
You didn't have to, like, how many guns does Steve tell you he has, or anything like that?
I also didn't want to get you in trouble.
I'm sure she listens to the show. She knows. But it was a good episode. I listened to it this week. I was glad she came on and talked with you guys.
Yeah, she was great.
I was too. She tried to back out of it, but she told me she would before we even went over there. She's like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Then she tried to back out. Barbacoa, so I would have came on too.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's a funny story about that.
Next time. Yeah, Barbacoa wouldn't let me in.
Did you forget your mask?
Bless her. No, nobody was wearing masks in there actually, but they said, "Oh no, reservation only." Which I've been there a couple times and never had to put a reservation in.
Yeah, but when's the last time?
Apparently, you do now.
During COVID.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, exactly. No mask, no reservation, no service.
Yeah, I can't just let anybody in there. So maybe that's what they told you because they knew you were from Eastern Idaho.
Yeah, they could tell by looking at me like this dude is not our type.
They saw the license plate and they didn't see the 1A, so you were see you later.
Dude, that parking lot was crazy. I almost had to park like a long ways away to get in there too.
Or on the berm.
There were so many people there.
Reservation only. Anyways, what are we talking about today?
Well, let me ask you this, Steve. Did you carry when you were going to the barbacoa?
Yes.
It's already in the past, so you can talk about it now.
Absolutely, dude. I carry everywhere I possibly can.
And do you carry all year round?
For the most part, yeah.
See, so that's what we're talking about today.
I don't wear a Speedo or nothing in the summertime. Well, but that sounds like I don't wear anything in the summertime, doesn't it? But for the most part, I'm pleasantly dressed and armed.
Right, and so that's what we're talking about. As it gets colder out, some people may be transitioning from summer to winter carry, and might be changing some things up or might not be. So we figured it was a perfect time to talk about going between summer and winter carry. Maybe do you change your gun, change your holster, change your setup or whatever, and talk about what we do and go from there. So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good conversation.
So we'll start at the beginning. What do you guys do when it goes from summer to winter? Do you change your setup at all? Do you change your gun, change your holster, anything? Or do you keep it the same?
I changed my ammo.
I've had... Oh, do you now? What did you change? That's actually a good topic right there.
Well, usually I carry my defense rounds all summer long, so the fall time is when I usually shoot through those, and I just started carrying G9 defense ammo, so see how that works out.
The copper, the copper.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I've shot it a few times. I've shot it through some windshields and some fabric and stuff, and I like the result. So it was recommended a lot. So I switched from my critical defense this winter to that. So
yeah, and if you guys aren't familiar with what he's talking about, almost imagine like a Phillips screwdriver turned into a projectile. It's kind of got that face on it, but instead of expanding, it keeps all of its mass and then uses the shape of the projectile, which you can't really describe it, I guess. It's hard to describe. You just have to get online and look. It's very efficient, and it works very well. It's kind of cool. A cool bullet.
Yeah, check it out yourself. It's actually pretty cool. So, but
I kind of figured with heavier clothing, more denim, more layers, that something with less deflection, a little less expansion would be better.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's wise, and I think a lot of people overlook that. They just think, it's defensive ammo, I'll just use it. But you're right. When there's more stuff on the outside to go through to get to the inside, it may not work.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Nick, start from kind of square one on that. Why would you bother even to change your ammo in between, going from season to season?
Okay, so let's be honest. Right now, it's really hard to kind of get ammo. So I had to kind of switch it up, but I was kind of planning it from the start, but I didn't want to switch out my defense ammo from the critical defense that I've been carrying. I mean, I buy a box of it every year and shoot through it, but it's kind of weird. It's like switching from carrying a Glock to carrying, I don't know, a Springfield. You just kind of carry and shoot what you've always carried and shot. And
right.
I've done a lot of testing on some different kind of what do you call them?
Mediums.
AR pistols, I guess. The pistol caliber carbines, that's what they are.
There you go.
Mind. With that ammo, we were doing some shooting through denim, ice, and windshields, and I just really liked the performance of it. So I wanted to switch. I had 5 or 6 boxes of it from when we did that testing, and now was the perfect time to switch because I could not find critical defense at the store. And I do shoot my carry mags that are loaded with 16 rounds of 9mm, 125 grain critical defense in the spring and in the fall.
So you change it up almost every season, it sounds like.
So I don't change the brand usually. This is the first time in 4 or 5 years that I've changed the brand of ammo and the actual bullets. But the bullets themselves, yeah, I shoot them twice a year because I load and unload those rounds 4 or 5 times a day.
So many times.
Every time I take my gun off, I unload it and then chamber another round. And I try and cycle that like down lower into the magazine. So every once in a while during the summer, I'll empty the mag and reload it, or I'll sometimes intentionally use that magazine when I go to the range and put range ammo in it so I can cycle the round so we don't get any compression of the bullet. But you can see the difference in the finish of the top 3 rounds compared to the ones on the bottom.
Right, yeah, because you're wearing through it. I mean, and it's also subjected to weather as it gets warmer and all that, and ammo does wear. I mean, after a while, it's probably still good, but sitting in the in the magazine like that for a while, it's different.
ammo doesn't really, I mean, it doesn't really go bad. It'll sit for years and still fire, but you don't want to like suffer a malfunction or set a bullet that's set back in the case because you've chambered it 300 times and the one time you go to shoot it, it fails or something, or it explodes. So I just make it a habit to do it. Plus, I like to put those rounds through the gun and feel what it's like to actually shoot those hotter loads than what I shoot when I'm actually target shooting.
And that's very important to make sure your gun even cycles with what you're buying. But you did bring up, I think, an important... Oh, go ahead.
So I've been shooting those critical defense for 5-6 years, and I remember when the Glock 42 came out, and I bought critical defense 380 ammo, and it wouldn't cycle in my Glock 42.
Really?
I had to shoot like the first 2 rounds every single magazine before it would start to cycle the rounds. So I had to take it in and have them modify the feed ramp on the barrel.
A feed ramp.
Yep.
Yeah,
and you brought up an important point, I think, about chambering and unchambering around. A lot of people don't even think about, even experienced gun people don't think about that bullet. Every time you load that gun, you rack that slide, and if it's the same round on the magazine, you will be pushing that projectile farther back into the casing, and you need that airspace inside the casing to make that powder to fire properly. And some people don't think about that.
And it's a measurable difference. I mean, that's why I do it, because somebody pointed it out. We put calipers on it, and you can watch it like over. I think we did it over like a month's time, and you could watch it slowly shrink down. And I was like, this is probably a good idea to at least cycle the top 2 rounds out. And what are you going to do once they've set back? You either shoot them before they get too bad, or you throw them away or take them apart. So
you junk them.
Better.
Well, and you bring up a good point.
That's important.
You bring up a good point, too, about shooting that defensive ammo. I think, Steve, you said it about how if you're going to carry defensive ammo, which may be a little bit of a hotter load or just a different feel than your regular range ammo, I mean, you got to shoot that to figure out whether or not it's even going to cycle or how it's going to shoot different. It might shoot higher or lower or differently than how you think. And so you want to make sure that you've got that kind of in the top of your mind,
Yeah, absolutely. Because just like Nick's experience with that 42, what if it was a defensive situation and he'd never tried to run that ammo through that gun? That could have been really bad. I mean, it really could have been his life, honestly.
Yeah.
So I want to share a bad experience and get Steve's information or knowledge on this. Yeah, I'm going to call you the expert on this. So when I first started carrying, I had somebody showing me how to load my magazines with 10 rounds of ball ammo and the top 5 rounds hollow point defense ammo. I assume it was because it was cheaper. But what's your thought on that?
I wonder what the logic was even for there. That is odd information to share.
That's really weird.
I am not recommending it. I'm saying that was something that when I was brand new to concealed carry and defensive handguns that someone was showing me, and I was like, okay, I guess that's how it's supposed to be done. And then someone was like, what are you doing?
To me, that almost sounds like the first person was like, look, I'll just show them my ammo and let them know that I got a whole magazine full of people killers and stay away from me something like that. That sounds very
I don't know. I think all bullets scare me if I was like going to be someone's going to show me like I don't get shot with anything, but maybe the logic was like the first 5 shots, like you did the most damage, and then adequate. You were just
Wow.
And then they're in real trouble.
So for the record, if any of you listening wonder about just carrying regular ball ammo for defensive use, don't. Buy proper, and we've talked about this before, but buy proper actual defensive rounds for your carry gun, please.
There's a reason why the police carry defensive loads.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Financially, legally, it's dangerous.
I think the only place that Ball ammo has its place for defense is if all the bad guys line up one right behind the other.
Yeah. At least two of them, maybe three of them.
Yeah, see, and then you can save on rounds, less reloading.
I was watching right on. Definitely in the weeds. Side note, I was watching. You guys remember Davy Crockett on the Disney Channel? You guys ever watch Davy Crockett?
Sure. I might not be old for that.
Come on. Do you have Disney Plus?
No.
Oh dear. Okay.
I only had it. Well, what was the Star Wars
Mandalorian
TV show? I only had it to watch that, and then I.
Okay, well the new season of Mandalorian comes out on the 30th of this month, so
you better get on it.
You got time. Anyway, so they get in this gunfight with their muskets, and he shoots like these Indians on a canoe and kills like 5 of them in one shot. It was hilarious with his musket. That's shooting right there.
That happened in Indiana Jones too. Remember in The Last Crusade, he had a P-38 and he shot through 3 people at the same time. And he looked at it and he goes, "Wow, check that out."
Because he was carrying ball ammo and not defensive rounds.
And it was a Walther. No big deal.
Well,
an
right
old
now,
Walther, not a new Walther.
I'm going to start the development on defensive hollow point musket ammo because that could be what we're reduced to if things go wrong next month.
Yeah, because they're not firearms.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Jeez.
I could even have a 10-inch musket. No pistol brace.
You can just carry it.
and a suppressor on it, like the Maxim 50.
There you go.
Because it's not regulated.
So
sure
if anyone wants to start the development on a speed reloader for the musket, a suppressor, and that's pretty much all, like some sort of a rail system, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, a musket with quad rails. Why not?
It's got to
have. Onto something.
It's got to have a
musket.
Got to have a bayonet load.
Well, but speaking of carry, and
but I digress, right?
Got into the weeds a little bit on that one. So you change your ammo, but do you change your firearm at all? Do either of you change your firearm for summer versus winter carry, or no?
Steve, you go first.
I do not actually, and not that. If I was to carry, have a winter carry, which I would consider, like a 19 or something, Glock 19 or something that size, I probably would. But the problem with it, I like the appendix carry, right? But in the wintertime, when you got more clothes on, you have the ability to maybe go outside the waistband and carry a bigger gun. Honestly, I still carry the Glockster or the 48L or 43L, whatever you want to call it. That's just my comfortable carry.
So everyone knows I carry a Glock 19 in the summertime, appendix carry all the time, forever. I don't change in the winter. I change the ammo, same magazines, 15+1. But in the summertime, there's times where I do carry Glock 43 or my Springfield XDS if I have shorts without a belt, or I'm going somewhere with a lighter T-shirt or something and I want a smaller gun. I will downgrade in the summer, but the 19 is still always my primary carry, and I still always carry appendix.
There you go.
It does get tricky in the winter when you got a coat and you got to kind of dig, but
yeah, that's the other thing is clearing cover garments is the other thing you got to think about. Because you're right, if you're just rocking around at 80-degree weather and you got a T-shirt on, it's easy to clear that garment. But suddenly, if you got a parka and then your sweater that your mom knit you, and then your sweater vest underneath that, and then maybe a flannel shirt,
there's a lot more going on.
First of all, yeah, you're probably in the wrong place. You need to go somewhere warmer. But
Steve just moved to Michigan.
You got to think about it. Hey, I lived in North Dakota for 6 months. I know what cold is. It was awful.
Midwest is
another
tough,
story
man.
For a different time. Yeah, I'm not cut out for that.
So I would think if I was going to change to winter carry, it would be pistol caliber carbine, pistol brace, collapsible stock, under the shoulder sling.
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
No, serious. Like if I was going to upgrade, that's my upgrade.
Like a SIG Rattler. That's what that's what I think.
Actually,
something like that would be awesome.
It would probably be my Delta S DS9 though, with the HK MP9 or MP5 mags.
That could be cool.
Under a hoodie or a jacket, okay.
Under a jacket, you carry it with the 10-round MP5 mags in 9mm, and then extra mags in your pockets because you got thousands of pockets in these ski jackets.
Yeah.
Serious stuff.
If I was going to upgrade my carry for winter, it would be that. But I'd still be carrying the same ammo.
That's smart.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd go from 1 gun to 2, and then I would just get more like velocity because I just did a longer barrel and more rounds.
Right.
So
and accuracy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how cool is that when you go to show your buddy what you're carrying today and you like open your jacket?
Yeah, man.
I don't know what it is about that SIG or the little rattler. I just want one of those.
It's pretty cool, man.
That's that like 2-round shotgun, right?
No. The little MCX. That little 9mm.
Yeah, it's got like a 5.5-inch barrel or something.
I was thinking of that little tiny pistol shotgun. What are those things called?
The ones that are made in Utah. Oh shoot!
They're like 10 inches total length.
No, I'm good. Oh, like the double barrel thing.
Yeah.
Awful. No way. I've shot one of those. They are absolutely awful.
They make me feel like Terminator.
Yeah. Even my brother has something like that in 410 or something, little tiny Derringer thing. Oh, I remember first time I shot that, it hurt so bad, completely awful.
Really?
Oh man, because there's nothing there to absorb the recoil other than the palm of your hand, and it is just atrocious.
Yikes! That does not sound fun.
No, that's like last ditch effort right there.
Well, okay, so if you don't change your firearms, do you change anything else? Do you change maybe the holster that you carry? Maybe do you move from inside the waistband to outside the waistband? Or do you maybe carry extra mags or any other extra gear during the winter? Go
ahead, Nick. I went first last time.
Yeah, so from experience, so I really don't do a lot of that, but I have talked to a lot of customers come in the shop, come in the store and talk, and a lot of people do switch to outside the waistband and to carrying a larger gun. But right. I think that's primarily because a lot of people carry the smaller guns in the summer. I'm a small person, but I've concealed carry appendix for so long that concealing a larger gun is just something that I've gotten used to doing, and I'm good at guarding it. But other people like to carry smaller guns for comfort and things like that. And before, those guns only came with 6 to 8 rounds. It wasn't like today where you were getting 10 to 15 rounds in a micro pistol like that. So now it might start to make a shift because the summer guns are getting optics. They're getting 15 round magazines. They're getting easier to shoot. They're all 9mm. They're not 380. So I think we might see a shift in it, but I know from years past, people would go from their Glock 42, M&P Shield, where you got 6 rounds, and they would start carrying
LCP.
LCP.
Right, like pocket carry stuff.
Yeah, and then they would move up to a Glock 19, Glock 17 outside the waistband, and that's when I would start seeing like pancake outside the waistband holsters start having an uptick in sales because people were switching. Yeah. And when you're carrying outside the waistband and a bigger gun, I don't get the reasoning behind this, but as soon as we go from 6 rounds and no extra magazine and we go to 15 plus 1, we've got to have at least an extra magazine too.
Because you got to have, it's either 30 or 6 and there's no in between.
I don't know if it's a tactical thing. I just know, like, if you're buying an outside the waistband holster for a Glock 19 for concealed carry, they're usually wearing a magazine too. I've tried for years to figure out the reasoning behind that. It just there's never a definitive answer.
Maybe it's a logical comfort thing for them. So they're just thinking instead of rounds, they're thinking of magazines. And so I've got this entire magazine of 6 rounds, or I've got this entire magazine of 19 rounds, and they're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just thinking of magazines. But then it still doesn't make sense if they're carrying more mags with their full size.
Right.
Even when I only have 6 rounds, it's pretty rare that I drop an extra magazine in my pocket or anything, because that's just more stuff I got to carry. And if I'm out in my swim trunks carrying my gun, like I'm not expecting to get into a major gunfight, so I'm usually hoping that 6 rounds is going to deter the situation, or get me back to the truck where there's something a little bit beefier locked up in there than my pistol. But
right.
Usually when I'm only carrying a small gun like that, it's because I feel the threat level is low, which I normally do, and I feel that it's adequate for me to defend my situation and get my friends and family and myself out of the situation. I think too many people get caught on, like, you're going to get into a gunfight and I need 200 rounds. We're not there to get in a gunfight. We're there to end the fight or get out of the situation. And that's what I try to address with people.
Well, just to de-escalate, just shoot the guy in the knee.
I saw those new targets on Facebook.
Yikes, yeah.
Not a political discussion. This is not a political discussion.
It was still pretty funny, though.
What about you, Mark? You haven't answered any of these questions.
Well, I was going to say, so during most of the year, I carry my Walther PPS because it is smaller, and I feel it does conceal better. And I usually just wear a T-shirt because I'm from the Midwest about 9 months out of the year. But when it gets really cold, if I can, I will carry the PPQ. But I do kind of want to try.
You have a new gun to carry now.
Well, you interrupted me, and I was going to say, what I really want to try to do next year is try to carry a Glock 19 all year round, because that seems to be something that makes a little bit more sense, at least to me, where you have a more familiar manual of arms, you know the size, you know how the gun's going to react. Where if maybe you go to the range and shoot a 19 all the time, but you carry a 26 or a 43 and you don't ever shoot that gun, you don't necessarily know, just like with different ammo, you don't know how it's going to react and how you're going to, what your natural point of aim is, especially in a defensive situation. So to me, it seems like carrying one gun almost all the time. I think, like Nick said, there's a couple of exceptions where, if you're in like swim trunks and a T-shirt with no belt, it's kind of a different story. But, that's kind of what I want to move to next year. And I think as it gets colder, I'm going to try that out.
So I have something coming up for you, Mark.
Oh, yeah?
In January, I am launching a 30-day challenge for concealed carry, because everybody gets their new guns in the holidays, and it's a little crazy during the holidays, so I don't want to do it now. But I've been putting together this 30 days of carry and getting people to take the gun that they want to carry and carry it for 30 consecutive days.
Interesting. I like it.
So
going over each day what the challenges are with that gun and what you could do to improve over time and just building that habit.
I like that.
You're saying turn all of January into concealed carry month.
Yep.
Nice.
I think so, and I think we'll just continue it on. Once you've done it for 30 days, we'll go 60, and then we'll go 90. And every time you complete the 30-day challenge, for Mark at least, I'll give him one G9 bullet until he gets 12, where he can fill a California magazine.
So all year you get most of a mag.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, well, see,
you get a California compliant +1 mag.
So incompliant mag.
Yeah. Well, I think you get 10 in the mag and then 1 in the pipe, so I'll only give you 11, and then on the 12th day we'll give you the magazine to put them in.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
On the 12th day of Christmas.
Yeah. No,
exactly.
I think that's a great idea, though, to challenge people to carry every day, especially during the winter, which I think is probably the easiest time to carry, because like we've talked about, you have more layers, more less chance of printing. You've got a coat. You can carry a little bit more comfortably if you wanted to carry outside the waistband. So I like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun, and it'll get people kind of excited. I'll come up with some mile markers in that to kind of entice people to do it. And we'll probably give away some trays or some shirts or something throughout the challenge.
There you go.
Or whatnot. I've been looking for some way to encourage people to actually get out and start carrying, because I talk to so many people who buy holsters, get the training, and then don't carry every day. And I've come up with a pretty comprehensive list of like objections to overcome, like using the bathroom while carrying. Like, what do you do with your gun? When you're driving, what do you do with your gun while you're driving? Do you keep it on? Do you take it off? How do you wear your seatbelt when you have a gun strapped to your body? Does that interfere? How do you draw from a seated position? Just things like that kind of stop people from carrying. Do you carry an extra magazine? Do you not carry an extra magazine? If you do, how do you carry it? And each day, just kind of sending out an email to everyone involved on, hey, today we'll talk about using the bathroom. This is what I do with my pistol if I have to take it off.
I think that would make a great episode too.
Yeah, and I make sure I don't leave it there, because if I find Steve's gun in the bathroom when I'm at the store, he's never getting it back.
I promise you won't find it at the store.
He's like, I never go to
One time. I'm just kidding. I've never done that.
When I worked at Tactical Solutions, I left my gun sitting on the sink in the bathroom, and it was hard for me to get back.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
I believe that.
Yeah. So that's kind of where that one came from. Like I've never done it again, but I've found other people's stuff in there: magazines, knives, holsters.
Oh man!
Wow!
I might not even say anything.
This is mine now. Sorry.
Just have a garage sale at the end of the year.
The lost and found auction. You buy back your stuff.
See, always the entrepreneur.
Yeah, seriously, always thinking. So go ahead.
I can't remember what I was going to say. You better go. I'll remember it in a second.
I was going to say,
way to go.
So with the winter, also one thing that maybe people don't think about is if it's really cold, you might be wearing gloves while you're outside, going from your car to your office, or you're shopping, or you're going into whatever. Have you practiced shooting with gloves before?
That is a good question. Steve, tell me about this.
I absolutely hate wearing gloves. Like, I hate it. I wear them as least as possible. I'll wear them sometimes in the wintertime, but almost always I don't have gloves on. Almost always. Even when I'm working with sharp objects or something at work, like I just can't do it. I don't know what it is. I hate it.
See, and I'm the opposite. I like to wear gloves when it's cold, but I have bad circulation.
Yeah,
I
do too. I have dicks. I have to feel what I'm touching, which I don't know what it is. But there are some good gloves out there that are thin.
When it comes to shooting, so I like to wear. In fact, I have them in my I have a pair in all of my Carhartt jackets, and I have a pair in my truck. They're those leather with the sheepskin inside, or the sheep fur, cotton, whatever on the inside.
Wool?
They're like insulated wool. Oh, there you go. That's a good word for it. I like that. We'll call it wool.
Okay.
Wool-lined gloves.
I think it's a scientific term, but anyway.
There is no shooting with those on. So
they're
I
too
have
fluffy.
practiced. Yeah, they're just they're too nice on my hands. Plus, I have a problem with my left hand, so getting gloves on that are tight kind of sucks in the winter. But I strip my gloves off as I'm drawing. Like if I'm going to go to clear my garments, the first thing I clear is the gloves off my hand, and that's why I like those, because they don't have any straps. They're easily thrown off.
They come off,
and then pull the garment, draw the gun, use the gun, pick up my stuff after I'm done. But I don't really rock mechanics gloves or thin gloves for.
Well, I feel like you have to wear. You can't, like, maybe people aren't paying attention to your hands or whatever, but I feel like even tactical gloves aren't going to keep you warm if you have cold hands during the winter. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, they're better than
honestly,
nothing.
I highly doubt you're going to notice your hands are cold if you have to use your gun. I mean, dexterity, there is an issue, kind of like what Nick was saying, like when your hands are cold, you do lose dexterity, right?
Yeah.
But I think under high stress situations, you're going to lose dexterity anyways, right? It's all gross motor skills. So I don't know. But if
let's clarify. You should learn how to shoot with gloves on.
You probably should.
And if you're going to wear gloves like I do, which are bigger gloves, and I put my gloves on when I'm pumping diesel at the gas station when it's cold out, because I get cold. So when you see me in the wintertime, you'll see me wearing a Carhartt jacket, my gloves on, and my hands inside my pockets of my jacket because I get cold.
You need to buy one of those battery-powered jackets, man.
Yeah, I just like the Carhartt. If I'm not wearing the jacket, all winter I'll be wearing a Carhartt vest.
Yeah.
Like I'm always cold. It's probably because I'm 145 pounds. I'm tiny. So.
You need to get some fat on them bones.
Well, and I was going to say, if you're not wearing gloves, then you should probably try shooting with cold hands sometime if you can make that happen. Because, like you said, I mean, your gross motor skills might depreciate or diminish if you're going through kind of a traumatic situation or whatever. But it could be even worse than normal if you have cold hands. You may be even walking around outside for 10, 20 minutes, an hour or something like that, and you don't know how cold your hands actually are.
Yeah. So there actually is a training technique for shooters to understand the difference between fine and gross motor skills, where they take a bucket of ice water and you put your hands, so you're holstered, right? And you put your hands in the ice water for whatever, 20 seconds or something, and then you pull your gun and you try and shoot a target. If you plan on doing that, you got to really think about safety, but that is something I've seen instructors do to let you know how it feels when you don't have fine motor skills.
That's got to be interesting. I've never done that, but it's got to be hard to do for sure.
I've never done it either. It does kind of make me nervous and a little, there's a
from a safety aspect,
the safety side of me kind of freaks out a little bit.
Sure.
But I've seen people do it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be good to try once at least, if nothing else.
Yeah,
I would definitely say if you're gonna carry in the winter, you should be familiar with your surroundings, cold weather, ice, water, snow, and also be familiar with what you're wearing, what your gear change is. I mean, obviously, we all change from shorts and a t-shirt to long pants, boots, and a jacket in the winter. So even if your gun doesn't change, maybe your holster needs to change to accommodate having to carry in a different position, and that would mean that your training regiment in the winter needs to change to accommodate clearing larger clothes, a different carry position, so that you're familiar with where you're carrying. And also, you can't be lazy like you can when you're not carrying a gun. I mean, I can walk into a store, not take my gloves off, not unbutton my jacket or anything when I'm not carrying, but if I know that I'm carrying a gun and I might need to use it for something, I might need to think ahead and take my gloves off, put them in my pockets, and be ready to do what I need to do before the situation arises.
Well, and also you might not take your glove. You might not take your jacket off because maybe you're carrying such a big gun that you might be printing without that gun. You know what I mean? Or without that jacket, rather.
That too, and being aware of that exact situation. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something else that, I didn't even think about. I've thought about before a little bit, but when we were talking about this episode, I didn't even think about like oversized gun. You're going into a restaurant to eat a steak, you take your coat off and, oh, surprise. Now everybody knows that my concealed weapon is no longer concealed. And some people, you're obviously going to make somebody uncomfortable and they might ask you to leave.
Right, especially if you're maybe at a place that doesn't necessarily allow firearms, but concealed means concealed. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steve, have you ever been asked somewhere to leave because of your firearm?
No, I have not.
I have not either. I have not had to experience that.
I
try to keep. I keep when it's concealed. I keep it concealed. When I was working at the range over here in Idaho Falls, I walked it. This was before Walmart had their standards, anyways. But outside the waistband, I was running a range, and I had to run to Walmart, which was just a quarter mile away from the store. And You get funny looks walking around outside the waistband, full-size Glock everywhere you go, but I was never asked to leave. Honestly, I'm not scared of people. Like they have the right to say no or whatever, but in my opinion, concealed is concealed. I'm not going to tell anybody I have a gun. I'm not going to show it off. I don't know. That's irresponsible to me.
Well, as we talked about in episodes before, it's a matter of you can, and maybe you can carry openly or whatever, but maybe should you? It's kind of a question of proper protocol or just smart tactics, I guess, as opposed to whether or not you can. Where we've talked about people, slinging an AR over their back and going to Walmart, not maybe the best thing in the world,
Okay, so because Steve went off topic, I have to jump in right there. So yesterday, this is not a political podcast, but I went to a Trump flag rally in downtown Boise yesterday. And I pulled into the line. I was downtown. I was on Jefferson and 9th. And there was the cars were coming towards us. There was a line both ways of trucks with flags supporting our president. And this guy jumped out of the back of a pickup carrying an AR. Well, he handled it in his hands as he jumped over the bed. Pointed it right at me, at my truck, as he was unintentionally getting out, and then went back around to get up in the back, and I watched him sweep everybody in there, and the guy that was with me was like, holy cow. I said, yeah, that's why we don't run around with our ARs slung over our shoulders while we're jumping in and out of trucks for no reason.
And if he's listening, and I think we have talked about this before. If that guy is a listener to the podcast, I'm extremely disappointed in you. You are not doing the Second Amendment any favors. Zero.
And that was the only person. If he does listen, he will know I'm talking about him, because that was the only person I saw out of 500-600 vehicles that had an AR slung over their shoulder. The only one. I saw some people with pistols and holsters, thigh rigs, some of that stuff that we see typically, but I didn't see anyone carrying rifles down there besides that one person. And I had that experience with him, and I was like, this is probably why we should not be doing that. So when your rifle is slung and you're in public, it needs to stay pointed down and slung down.
Yep.
There's no reason. I mean, obviously he had to jump out of the truck. There was no good reason for him to jump out of the truck, but he had to put it in his hands to do it. And when he did, now everyone else became a victim of his muzzling and pointing the gun at him. So that's what makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah, it does not do any favors. It is irresponsible in my point of view. I totally get the point of why they want to carry and express their right and their freedom. I get it, but I think there's a more respectable and responsible way to do it.
Very much so, yeah.
I had 3 of those rifles in the truck. I just went.
It's not like you were pointing them out the window and be like, yeah, it's 2020.
Well, I had one of them locked in my black rack and the other 2 in the case because I just left the range.
Craziness.
That's a good example of safety in the real world and considering what you're doing, and some people don't think about that.
So
yeah, it definitely wasn't something he did intentional. It was something that was an oversight that I don't think that he even realized that he did, and nobody was there to call him out. I mean, I didn't lean out the window and obscenely yell at him and freak out. I looked at Drew and he made that comment, and I go, well, that's exactly why you don't see me and you running around out here with our guns, because if we got to move, we have to handle them, and we don't know what's around us. And that's what makes these other people on the other side of our stance nervous about us running around with guns, and because the people on their side are also shooting each other on accident. So they made perfect examples of why jumping around and pointing your muzzle and jamming it in the ground and all that garbage is not safe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it looks like there might have been a gap in his carbine training.
Yeah. So
maybe a little bit.
Other than that, it was pretty fun and safe, and the cops shut it down super early though. They had downtown pretty locked down yesterday.
That's too bad.
So
interesting.
So we talk about you mentioned, Nick, about changing holsters, with the changing of the seasons. And I have a question. Maybe I even asked you this before, but I just don't remember the answer. Is does Hoftac have a tuckable option?
Yes. So all of the custom shop stuff normally comes with the J hooks that are tuckable because, one, they're easier to set up on a real firearm, the blocking for that, and where the screws go are more conducive in a non-machined mold situation. The H1, the stuff that's on the shelf, it is tuckable and non-tuckable. It can use both clips. So if you look down on the slide, there's 2 holes down there, and that's where you can put that J hook that we use on the custom side as well. It's only really needed if you want to tuck your shirt in. So I don't use it as a factory option. Those clips are a little bit more expensive. They're a little bit narrower, and the industry standard has become that wide polymer clip.
Right. And
so we use that on the production side, which is nice because it is cant adjustable, and it's easy to get on and off, but so is the tuckable clip. It's easy to get on and off too. You just get used to whichever one you use. I use the tuckable one, and I never tuck in my shirt, so I don't even know why I do it. I just got used to it. So.
Because I'm often tucking in, a dress shirt, and you remember I got a holster from you years ago. It's time to upgrade anyways. So I need to really look at a tuckable option, because it's I like to carry everywhere I go. I'll just put it that way.
Is that not one that you have not tuckable?
It doesn't tuck very well.
So I'll tell you this, it's not easy to tuck your shirt in behind a belt clip, no matter what it is. It's I was explaining this to a guy the other day. So he similar to me, he wears Wranglers and pearl snap button up shirts, but he tucks his shirts in. He's a welder. And I was explaining to him, when you put that in there, you have to kind of bunch your shirt up behind the clip and then pull it to the side and fan it out. You're not going to tuck it in like you would traditionally tuck in
standard.
Your shirt, because it's pinching it.
And maybe it is a tuckable version. I'm just doing it wrong.
Well, I also think it's time for you to get a new holster. I mean,
yeah. That first holster I got from you was 4 years ago, something like that. Yeah, probably pretty close to.
Jeez.
Man, I only had 4 years of experience back then.
And I'm still using it. I'm like, it still rocks it. So
I thought I made you one on one of the shows.
We did, and I don't carry that one. That's not my carry. I carry, but that's not my Sunday carry.
He lost that one in a boating accident.
Yeah, that one was attached to a gun that you lost in a boating accident. How unfortunate.
Well, they don't float, and it was hard to tie the buoy to it as well. So I don't know what happened to it. It's gone. It vanished.
Well, next time you're in town, we'll grab one. Even if you have to grab one off the shelf, I'll just replace it. So
there you go.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But you carry a Glock 40. You got a Glock 43 long slide thing, don't you? So they're probably out because I keep restocking the store weekly with those.
Nice.
As long as they're 365, they don't stay on the shelf. So
that's because that I'm gonna get a 365 actually, but that gun is amazing, and I'm a Glock guy.
It is a cool gun for sure.
I mean, it's no Taurus or one of those, but it's an amazing gun.
It's never gonna replace my G2, and I might get a G3C.
It's amazing how many people bag on that G2. That's actually a really good gun. For the price point, that's a pretty solid option.
I'm not sure. Does that one come with an optic yet?
I wouldn't be surprised if they got one coming out with it. Everybody's doing optics nowadays.
I think the G3C comes with an optic plate. I don't know.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I think you're going to start seeing the optic plates coming standard probably on any gun moving forward now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
who knows? We'll see. But so what? You guys got anything else on carrying, moving from the summer to the winter, or changing guns or gear with seasons?
Well, so I think another. I was going to say another topic. You kind of brought up the truck gun topic, and I have a truck gun too that I carry around with me. You got to think about too with the changing of the temperatures. There's also a change of humidity. So if you store a firearm in your vehicle, and you haven't looked at it for a while, you probably should pull it out, wipe it down with some a silicone cloth, not silicone, a good gun oil or something, and take care of it, because you might be surprised. I made this mistake one time and rusted the crap out of one of my guns because I was lazy. And so if you have a truck gun that you haven't looked at for a while, get it out of there, clean it up, check your ammo. Because the other thing too, we talked about ammo a little bit earlier, but if you're carrying ammo in a vehicle and it's been in that vehicle for a few years, you think about the vibration and the rattle. That'll actually break down some of the powder components. And once you change the surface area of the powder inside that cartridge, it changes the burn rate. And so you could have an issue there as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So you speak of ammo rattling around the truck. I chased down a rattle in my truck for like 4 months. It was a box of 25 rounds that had gotten underneath the back seat. And my truck, the back seat doesn't go up, and I could not figure out what that noise was. And I got my truck detailed, and they pulled it out of there, and it went away.
Oddly enough.
Yeah. So one thing I would say about changing the seasons, changing your gun, changing your gear, we touched on it. Obviously, Steve's going to agree with this. Train the way that you carry. So if you are going to change, if you're going to change your gun, you're going to change your carry position. Train that way and put the clothes on that you're going to be wearing when you do it. So if you're like me and you wear gloves, practice taking your gloves off. Practice shooting with your gloves on. Practice opening your jacket. Do you pull your jacket up? Do you unzip it? Like, does it have buttons? Do you tear it away? What are you going to do that? And if you're going to wear an outside the waistband holster that cannot come off, because I know some of us will take our guns off when we sit in the truck. Now you're going to need to sit in your vehicle and figure out, can I comfortably drive with that on my hip? Or do I need a secondary carry option in the vehicle? So because I can't take the holster off. So now I got to pull the gun out of the holster. Where am I going to put that gun when it's out of the holster? Is it going on one of those truck magnets? Is it going to just rattle around on the floor while we drive? Are we putting it into another holster that is in between the seat, that is mounted to the truck? Like, those are all critical things to think about when you're changing your normal carry. So
absolutely,
it'll probably become second nature in a couple of weeks. But right now, as you're making that transition and it's getting colder, I mean, it was 45 degrees this morning when I left at 5:30. My gun was a little bit cold pressed against my skin when I was outside. Yeah, you've got to think about training the way that you carry. And so if you're going to change in the winter, train with that. I mean, I switched my ammo, so I shot couple magazines of that new ammo to make sure that it cycled, because I have experience with my Glocks not cycling new ammo, and it worked fine. So now we'll see. I never got to test out the old ammo. 5 years of carrying it, I never got to see how it worked on human flesh, but thank God for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you could always shoot watermelons. Don't underestimate the watermelon.
That's true. But back to Nick's point about, trying and training, trying things out and training in the real world. Someplace like here, we're kind of lucky where we can go out into outdoor ranges or out to, public land where you can shoot all year round and really try out what it's really like in colder weather, different kinds of lighting. If there's snow on the ground, if you're wearing gloves, if not, you really can fine tune that as long as you're practicing safe gun handling, Yeah,
and as long as we're in a safe area where the surroundings are safe, dry fire practice that way is just as critical, because if you don't actually have to fire the rounds, but we need to be out in the cold. We need to, even inside the house, we can safely dry fire and practice wearing the different types of clothing to make sure that it works for us. Today, actually, I talked to somebody who was using one of our new belly band holsters, and she was like, well, how do you draw the gun? I'm like, well, you're going to have to pull your dress up to get to it. So that's something inside the safety of your home you're going to have to practice doing if you're going to carry that way. And so if you're going to wear bibs to go outside and shovel the snow and carry your firearm, how are you going to get to it?
Yeah,
you might want to practice that in the warmth of your bedroom and then take that out into the garage and practice when it's cold.
Smart idea. I agree.
Yeah, that's pretty sound advice. And you gave me 2 fantastic ideas, by the way. First of all, well, maybe we'll see, but maybe 3 ideas.
Or I got nude lace, so you can pick which one you want.
Nude, as long as it's slimming, I'll take the nude one. But no, I think there's an awesome class option there for concealed carry holders about winter concealed carry. Maybe there's a supplement you can add to a class. So I think that's a pretty good option to get some solid training.
The more and more I talk to people, the more I think that you might have to show me how to become an instructor.
Yeah, it's not too hard. And then the second idea is I'm going to invent tactical bibs. So when I'm out shoveling the snow, I can rip those bibs down and have an AR hiding behind it.
There you go.
That might have a military application. You might have something there.
Yeah, you might be onto something.
I already know who I can talk to. I know a clothing manufacturer I can bring it up to. They already have military contracts.
Some sort of Arctic camo bibs.
That's right. Man, this is going. Maybe we shouldn't be talking about this right now.
Have you ever been out in Antarctica shoveling the walkway to the generator when all of a sudden a polar bear steps out and you just can't get to your gun?
Or a mob of 30 penguins.
Hey, those penguins can be angry, and I hate how they walk all smug and everything. Speaking of Antarctica or the Arctic, did you guys see the video of the Russian Special Forces doing a high altitude jump out of one of their big airplanes?
My computer is banned from all things Russia, so.
Oh my goodness. These guys, they're SF guys, are jumping out of one of their monstrous airplanes at 33,000 feet.
Oh my gosh.
And parachuting onto some polar ice cap. That is
Talk about cold weather training.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Did they have oxygen on?
Oh, absolutely. They had these fancy parachuting helmets and masks, oxygen masks, and it's kind of cool, actually.
Oh yeah,
but
just a little insane.
I'll have to look it up when Terry leaves his laptop in my office. I'll have to look it up on his computer.
Yeah.
I'm
enjoy it too.
I'm safeguarding myself for if I ever run for president. I don't want them to say that I ever searched anything from Russia. So you got to start young.
But you're on TikTok, dude. You're already the game's lost.
You're already
colluding with China.
Yeah, see.
Well, you can't win them all. When they see my videos on TikTok, they'll give me a pass.
That might be true. Next time you need a bottle of ocean spray, though.
Well, we can't all be North Idaho famous, okay?
I think that's Eastern Idaho famous.
He's from Idaho Falls, and he used to live in a camper.
Yeah, it's a friend of Steve's, I think.
He doesn't live in the camper anymore?
Well, I don't know. Ocean Spray gave him a truck.
Yeah, well, they gave him a Nissan. I thought they'd give him a real truck. You can't even tow his camper with that.
That's true.
Nice. Well, on that note, I think we'll call it a podcast.
Word up.
Unless you guys got anything else.
So if anyone has any questions on winter carry, winter training, just hit one of us up and we'll do what we can. But I really do think if you're going to change up your carry options that train accordingly.
Agreed.
Yes. Well, and honestly, they should be keeping that up regardless, but you're absolutely 100% correct. If you're changing any part of your carry routine, you need to follow that up with competent understanding and training.
Agreed. I think that's the big takeaway from this one. So, well, if you guys don't have anything else, that'll be it. If you have any questions for us, let us know. podcast@iishooting.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Range Minded Podcast. And thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, guys. Be safe.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later.
See ya. Thanks for listening to Range Minded. Find us online at Range Minded Podcast on Facebook, or send us an email at podcast@iishooting.com. We're always happy to get feedback, episode suggestions, whatever you want to send us, really. And be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much wherever else you get your podcasts from. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.